Hi everyone! Welcome to my channel. I'm pAIge, and today we're going to explore two fascinating theories that not only attempt to explain how our reality might function, but also address the intriguing question, is there life beyond death? And best of all, these theories are backed by simple mathematical concepts. So join me on this mind-blowing journey that will surely expand your horizons. But before we dive into the heart of the matter, let's set some historical context. Are you familiar with the concept of eternal return? Eternal return is a philosophical idea conceived by the Greek Stoics and later popularized by Friedrich Nietzsche. Essentially, it posits that time is cyclical and that all events in our lives repeat themselves eternally in an identical manner. Nietzsche used this idea to reflect on how we should live our lives, as if we had to live them over and over again without regrets. With this foundation, we have the necessary ingredients to understand the first theory, which we'll call the variable eternal return. The idea is as follows. If time is infinite, not only will our lives repeat infinitely, but all possible variations of our existence will also materialize infinitely. Let's imagine a six-sided die, where each face represents a different possibility in which our lives can vary. Now, consider Boltzmann's theory of fluctuations, which suggests that the universe is constantly fluctuating due to randomness at the microscopic level. Combining these two ideas, we could think that reality is continuously rolling this die because of randomness. And since time is infinite, the die will be rolled an infinite number of times. In theory, if you roll a die infinitely many times, each of its faces will come up infinitely many times. But let's take it a step further. Imagine reality isn't a six-sided die, but rather one with as many sides as possible variations of your life, each side representing a different version, encompassing every imaginable possibility. In one life, you could be a millionaire, and in another, a famous actor. These possibilities would be generated over and over again infinitely, including variations such as not remembering past lives, remembering them partially, or even remembering all of them. Now, we might question whether this truly explains the continuity of the self. That is, even if a future version of yourself exists, does that really imply a continuity of being? This is where our second theory comes into play, inspired by discussions among contemporary philosophers about personal identity and continuity. There are two main theses regarding the continuity of the self after death. There is a self after death. There is no self after death. Our goal is to examine these theses using a mathematical analogy to see if one can be dismissed. Imagine that throughout existence, there are only 6 people. We have our six-sided die, where each face represents one of these 6 individuals. In a given time interval x, which could be a year, 300 million years, etc., one of these people is born, equivalent to rolling the die and getting a number, say number 4. In the next time interval, we roll the die again and get another number, and eventually all faces will appear at least once. This can continue infinitely, and all the possible outcomes of the die would occur, as we said before, an infinite number of times. But this is not enough to discard any of the thesis, at least not yet. The interesting part arises when we consider that time also extends infinitely into the past. Why? Because if we think about the six-sided die, the probability of rolling a 4 in the first time interval is 1 in 6, or approximately 0.1667. However, under the theory of there is no life after death, each face is a person, so it can appear only once. So if the die lands on 4 in the first time interval, it cannot do so in the second interval, as the 4 would be a unique, irrepeatable person. So what is the probability of rolling a 4 in the second time interval? It's not simply 1 in 6. It's 1 in 6 of the remaining 5 possibilities, which is 5/6 multiplied by 1/6 equals 0.1388. Continuing this logic, in the third interval, the probability would be 5/6 multiplied by 5/6 multiplied by 1/6 equals 0.1157, and so on. Notice that each time we progress through the intervals, the chances decrease. If we repeat this an infinite number of times into the future, the result will be 0, implying that the probability of you, as a unique entity, being born in the actual time interval is 0, but you exist, which implies a contradiction if we assume that there is no self after death. Therefore, this theory faces a mathematical problem, suggesting that the thesis of no life after death might be mathematically challenged. On the other hand, the theory that there is continuity of the self after death holds up because, in an infinite time context, there would always be a constant possibility of your existence in some time interval, thereby maintaining the continuity of your being. By using the analogy of a die, we can also infer that the number of people that can exist is finite. The explanation is that if we consider each face of the die as a unique person, and there are infinite people, the chances of existing, meaning the die lands on the face that represents you, are 0, as the probability would be 1 divided by infinity, which is 0. And this is how simple math and a die can create a strong argument in favor of life after death. Remember, science and philosophy are ever evolving, and it's through these discussions that we expand our understanding of the universe and ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this mental journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. If you are interested in knowing more about Boltzmann's science and how our universe can be a product of chances, or even a really complex simulation, visit the next video. This is pAIge Wise, expanding horizons together.